Hello everybody, welcome to another Valheim video. Today we're going to be diving into some history. Because believe it or not, Valheim actually started as a sci-fi game. This craft you see here isn't a modded package, this is actually in the base game files. You can look for yourself. All you have to do is have Devcommands enabled, and then spawn Tolroko Flyer. That's going to give you one of these objects. But don't get too excited about it, because while it is in the game files, and it is very shiny, gotta hand it to the shininess, very nice and shiny, that's all it does. It pretty much is just shiny, and it's there. It seems to kind of be like a memorial to what got Valheim started in the first place, something they just kind of left in the game files. So what is this thing exactly? And it's called the Tolroko Flyer. What's Tolroko? Well, it turns out that Tolroko is where it all began. Valheim actually started as a sci-fi game, and believe it or not, you can still play that sci-fi game today. We'll be looking at the Tolroko Tumblr blog, Richard Svensson's YouTube channel, and the Visitor's Guide to Tolroko. While it is true that Valheim is technically an early access game, if you look at the history, it started a long time ago, over a decade ago, with Richard Svensson and his work on Tolroko. And he actually has this really cool blog. Like, it's funny seeing this from 7 years ago, right? The project became Fed, which eventually became Valheim. It went Tolroko, Fed, Valheim. Sorry I'm mispronouncing this. It means feud. I don't know how to pronounce it. And there's 11 pages of seeing like screenshots and him kind of talking about what he was doing. And what's so trippy is seeing that Richard actually started that way. This is exactly what he was doing. He was updating things, getting artwork, doing things, and posting his journey, not just here on his Tumblr blog, but also here on his YouTube channel. If you go to his YouTube channel and you just order the videos from oldest to newest, you can literally see his journey. And this is the real beginning of Valheim right here. You can see it's like Tolroko this, Tolroko, Tolroko, Tolroko. 13 years ago, 11 years ago, 11 years ago, 10 years ago, 9 years ago. You see, it's still Tolroko. That's 3 years of this Tolroko project existing and being a passion project of his, to the point where he's even getting his friends involved and they're helping with concept art. All sorts of really cool stuff. And the similarities don't end there. If you look very closely at Tolroko, you see that Valheim is Tolroko. What do I mean by that? Well, why don't we just launch it up and you can see what I mean. If we go to the top of the blog, there's actually a download section and you can get all of the latest Tolroko builds, right? So I'm using 0.151. After you download those things, you'll find a PDF inside called the Visitor's Guide to Tolroko. And why don't we just look at this a little bit, because it actually has every single core element of what became Valheim. Granted, Valheim is much more evolved. You basically get into an alien world and it generates a new world each time. Just like in normal Valheim, where you have a character and also a world, and each world is unique and different, the same thing is present in Tolroko, except they're alien worlds. You have health and stamina, etc., etc., and then you have these environmental conditions. And all of your other favorite elements are also present, ships and base building. Ships were more like things you could use to fly around, not necessarily sail. And you can actually just look at Richard's YouTube channel and find different kinds of content showing the ships, right? In this case, for example, he gets into one of these ships here, and then they fly off. I love the placeholder graphics, they're so trippy. See, so the ship's like flying away, right? It's pretty crazy. So what started as spaceships that fly around essentially became longships, carves under your car. There was an inventory system that's pretty similar to how it is, except the UI is much better now. And then they had the materializer system, and this is pretty much like how things were built The materializer system's how you got resources and then also how you spent them. It's basically the prototype of what became the building system in Valheim. And isn't that crazy? Seeing this decade-old project, how many similarities there are to Valheim. I mean, clearly Valheim has made the graphics much, much better. The art style's better, the character models are more detailed and better. But without further ado, let's actually launch the game and give you a show of what it's really like. So here we launch Tolroko, and we're greeted by some of the alien kind of art style, right? Because remember, Tolroko's about alien worlds and flying around. So it's not like you can fly from one world to another, but you do get your own world that has different things on it, just like in modern Valheim. Each world is unique. We're greeted with this start menu, right? So it gives us some information. We can see a little console here. It tells us the people involved, right? And as you can see, even though, yeah, it started as Richard Svensson, it wasn't just him. Even when Tolroko wasn't even Valheim yet, there were already other people involved. And as far as I understand, these are like his friends and people that he cared about, other team members, that kind of thing. It's definitely a cool project to check out if you like Valheim. So let's join our existing world. Boom, load it up. And all right, here we are. So I have no idea how anything works. All I've figured out is that things are very, very trippy. It's kind of like an LSD trip or something. And you can jump around, right? You have this like jetpack, and so that's kind of how you explore. You jump around like this, and you hold space, and you charge your jump, and you just keep doing that over and over, and you explore this world and like try not to die and stuff. And there's actually a lot more going on than appears, if that makes sense, because it's almost all placeholders. It's like, I don't know what the color stuff is. All I know is these are grids. These are what eventually became zones in Valheim, or chunks rather. They're probably like 64 by 64 meters. But you can see you have an inventory, and you can like equip your weapon. I have a gun right now, right? And there's this thing. I don't know what it is, but I can examine it with the G, and I can see that it's called a Sibi, which I think that means it's an enemy. Oh, okay. Okay, so for some reason that thing wasn't hurting me, but I think this one might, because it moves around, right? So there's these like enemies, and you can shoot them and stuff, and they can hurt you. I don't know why that one earlier didn't hurt me. Wait, did these just run away? Are they like the deer? No way. Whoa, what's going on there? I don't know what's going on here, to be honest. This place is very trippy and confusing for me. I have not... Wait. Chemtrails. That's a ship? There's a ship? It's like a pod racer. What is going on there? I feel like that thing is not going to be friendly to me. But it's really cool to see it. Okay. Okay, so that's what was shooting the things on the floor. I thought those were like mines or something. Maybe these things aren't running away from me. They're running away from the ships. Honestly, that's actually a pretty cool moment. So far, when I played earlier, I had no idea what was going on, and it was very confusing. But now it looks like it's like daylight, so I can kind of see what was going on. There's these structure things, like that, I guess is like a tower or something. Let's see, maybe we can get into it. I can like hop over, right? Oh my gosh, this looks familiar! This looks so familiar. This is like the Goblin Tower, right? You go in, or in the stone, or in the Black Forest maybe. You go in, there's a ramp up, and then what? Is it gonna be like a chest or something? We got some torches, some holes in the wall. Oh, this is fancy. Look at this. What's this? Oh, a guard. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, okay, it's a guard, but the model is stuck in the floor. And he's pointing his gun at me. So I guess I can talk to him? What happens? Oh, I can talk to him. It says some stuff. So maybe this is like a prototype for a dialogue system, it looks like. I would assume he's meant to be standing. What happens if I examine him? A Kakari. Huh. There seems to be a lot of like factions and different things here. And these guys definitely like, okay, I can shoot him, but then what? Oh no, now he's starting to shoot me. Okay. So it looks like they actually have some kind of behavior. It's just the animation, like the rigging of the animation isn't in place anymore or something. I'm assuming he can actually, oh yeah, he killed me. Well, that worked. And so when you die, it looks like once I started fighting, that like made them aggressive, right? Almost like the Diverger. So now we respawn, right? And I think each time we respawn in like a different place. Like, where am I now? Am I in like a jail? I don't know how this works, to be honest, but I recognize these cargo crates. These later became a thing in Valheim. And this is very interesting. Did I just get like sent to a jail after getting killed by them? I mean, it certainly seems like that, right? Like, here's the guard again, and there's all these jail cells. This is very interesting because I recently heard a rumor that this is actually what's going to happen in the deep north, that you're going to get captured, basically. Materializer controls? Select, what? Oh, this is where you launch a ship from. Oh, that's so far above me right now. I'm not going to get to it. And so, let's say that you want to try this out for yourself, because I actually do recommend it. For me, it was very confusing at first, but then after you get a bit used to it and start exploring, you can really start to feel how it evolved into Valheim. If you want to try it out, all you have to do is use the latest build that's available here. The one I got working was 0151 for Windows. And then use his YouTube channel to kind of scroll down, and then you can get a sense for the different things that are possible in Tolroko, because it's actually a pretty interesting project with a lot more depth to it than I realized. Here, for example, you can see him like scavenging a ship crash site, and he's picking up resources, right? And then he seems to talk to this person and then use a blueprint of the very scooter that we just saw, right? Back when it was originally in this other game. And it was how the player could like solo fly around in the beginning. I think it's actually a pretty cool system, right? I mean, I can't imagine Valheim responding well today to somebody moving around that quickly. The game world isn't made for that. But this world, you can tell, it's much more sparse, and there's locations in between things, right? And you can find all this and more just by trying it out yourself here by going to tolrokotumblr.com and then downloading this build. And here you can see the original, right, in the Tolroko project. And here we have the remainder of the model that's kept in the Valheim game files, probably as some kind of homage to where Valheim actually came from. And honestly, when I started researching to make this video, I was under the impression you couldn't play Tolroko anymore. So I'm actually pretty psyched that it's a project we can actually get into and explore. It's been more interesting than I expected. And maybe you can help me with the ultimate mystery. What happened? You know what I mean? How did we go from a blog that had updates? They weren't huge updates. I'm not saying they were big patches, but you can just look at them. You can go to the screenshots, and it's so cool because you don't just get to see screenshots. You see he's working on making billboard-based trees, and he'd rather that they look more alien, right? Like, that's what I want. That's it. I'm a simple man. But how did it change, right? Something changed, and we don't get this anymore. Now we get these like teases and social media posts developed by people who were hired, whose jobs it is to do that. The people making the stuff aren't talking to us. Like, what happened? That's why I started this video. I was looking into the history. I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Because you can figure out a lot by looking at Richard Svensson's YouTube channel, right? You see that it really started mostly as Tolroko, right? There was some other stuff he was messing around with, but then it was just Tolroko for multiple years, right? Like multiple years. And like, you can see that like here, for example, I love the smell of Tolroko in the morning. Like that is the title made of somebody who's loving what they do. You know what I mean? That's like someone who wakes up and works on something and wants to share. You know, it's just like, or maybe they stayed up all night. You know, there's a passion that's there. And you can tell, like, I'm not saying these updates are super regular, right? Like, if you look at this, 10, 10, 10, okay, 10 years, 10 years. This is like one update a month. You know, it's not common. But like for me, I don't know, it feels honest. It feels genuine, right? And you can see literally, like, you get a video, not of like some cutscene or some random other thing that they're scared might be removed. No, you just get the video of him playing and like playtesting the new thing. You see, he's flying around the ship in a different model. Like, I don't know what happened. And for me, I'm not trying to be critical of Iron Gate at all. This is a learning experience for me because I want to develop games and I want to have a good relationship with my players. I want to be transparent with them. So I need to understand like what that looks like, right? And that's why it's so trippy, just going down the history of the blog post and exploring the history of the YouTube channel. What is this? This is clearly like Black Forest Meadows assets. This is what became Valheim. This looks so much more like Valheim, right? And that's basically what happened. There was Tolroko, the sci-fi thing, and then over time, he worked on that for like 3 or 4 years with also some other people, and then that was kind of repackaged as this Viking Valheim prototype called Fed. You can see that it was referred to as Fed here on the YouTube for less than a year, actually, before it was rebranded to Valheim. But it looks the same, right? Like you can see, if we look here, this is the troll, right? And you can look at this character model, right? But I mean, that troll, I mean, honestly, I kind of like how chunky he is. He looks more like a troll to me. The current trolls are too buff and burly, you know what I mean? But look at this guy. That's the Valheim troll, isn't it? Like, I mean, come on, that's him. That's where he came from. He's a little bit slower. I can tell his animations are slower. But it's so cool, isn't it? Just being able to look at this history lesson and see how Valheim got to where it is today. Because in all honesty, with all of this in mind, it makes a lot of sense that the creators of Valheim are burned out. Because while we may call Valheim an early access game that isn't finished yet, realistically, like, come on, this is over a decade old project. I mean, some of these videos started, Tolroko was first mentioned 13 years ago. Like, let's give them some slack, and, you know, I'm speaking to myself as well here. Because I now that I'm piecing more of the pictures together, you know, it makes sense if they're burned out by now. It's been so long. And even though we have this narrative that everything worked out great for Iron Gate and their early access game hit it off, like, just look at the history here. Tolroko started 13 years ago. At least that's when he started updating us on YouTube, right? And then it started becoming known as Valheim somewhere around 7 years ago. At that point, Tolroko had already existed for 7 years. That's a long time. So then if we keep going forward, we can see that we get to this point, right? 5 years ago. This is where Valheim actually launched, right before it launched. Isn't that weird? What happened? Why did one of the lead creators, the powering forces behind the game, stop uploading videos? If you have an idea, comment below. Let me know. Like I mentioned, I was trying to make this video so I can learn and get to the bottom of what's going on. And I have learned a lot, but now I have so many more questions because I've seen that they actually did used to behave the way we want. So now I'm even more confused. What's going on? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if you want to support my work, consider renting your own Valheim server to set up a dedicated server to play with your friends. You can use EWP scripting to alter mechanics and all sorts of things without them even needing to install a single mod. We are in a totally new era of Valheim. and I make content to try and show people what's possible with this brilliant, incredible community building game. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.